I don't even know how to start this video, honestly. Saying that my life was complicated over the past month is an understatement. My life hit me in my face. All I can say is that I do feel better from everything that's been going on, and now I'm back home in Charlotte for the holidays to spend time with my family. I haven't been here since I left and moved to LA in April, which is why I wanted to do this Q&A in the first place. I haven't done a Q&A in a really long time, so I think this is the perfect time to catch up. There may be some of you guys who are new to my channel when you guys watch this video. My name is Jada Jones. I'm a 19-year-old actor and content creator that moved to LA in April of 2021. I actually lived in New York City before then, before COVID, and then COVID happened and then I moved to LA, and yeah, that's a little bit about me. But before we get into this video, I wanted to thank Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video, so thank you, Ana Luisa, and more on them later. But let's get into the Q&A. I'm actually going to divide this video into different sections. There's going to be 4 different sections of this video based on the questions that I received. I wanted to plan this out so it was a little bit organized. So the first portion is going to be money, because there was a lot of questions surrounding money and everything that goes into money. The first question that I have is from TikTok from Kiandrea. I'm not even gonna pronounce these names. Let's not pronounce the names because I'm not gonna do this very well. And they said, how are you able to maintain living in LA? Like, expenses wise, do you find it more expensive in LA or New York City? I did film a video a couple months ago. I'm gonna link it right here so that you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. In this video, I talk all about finances, how I was able to move to LA in detail, about money and all that stuff. So if you guys wanna watch that, that video is gonna be so helpful. I just don't wanna go too much into money in this video, but I did feel the need to answer some of the questions. As an actor, you basically trying to find any part-time job that will sustain your living, because as an actor, you're always auditioning, you're going to classes, you're doing so many things that fulfill your time. So you kind of need a job that's going to pay your rent, that you're not spending a full-time amount of time there because you're spending full-time acting. Acting is one of those career paths that is just so difficult in a sense where you literally have to keep yourself financially afloat, but also spend so much time also focusing on the craft and doing everything on that aspect. It's been a lot, but I will say that it is possible. If you guys don't know, I actually have a podcast called High Key Adulting, and you guys are gonna be really happy to hear this, but I am officially bringing it back in 2022. I've announced this on my Instagram, but I haven't said it on my YouTube channel yet. I just have so many new friends now in LA, and a lot of them are also financially sustaining themselves by doing whatever work that they do. And I think that because so many people don't really put their lives online, it may seem like not many people are kind of doing the same thing as you. So I really want to just bring more voices onto the podcast now that I have more friends, more people to bring on that can talk about this stuff. That will definitely be coming in 2022, so stay tuned. Go follow High Key Adulting on Instagram and socials, as I will be having some episodes. A lot of my friends that I know do personal assisting, whether if that is for a content creator or an influencer or someone in the industry. A lot of my friends do babysitting, restaurant work. It really just depends on what you want to do to fill up your time. You can do retail, you can do honestly whatever. I do content creating, like I said, and I also do a lot of part-time gig stuff. My answer is you find what you can do. There is always a job that you can take. There's always money to be given out, given around. My friend Sophie really kills it out in LA, especially with the gig aspect of things, and she really is able to keep herself afloat with that. I don't want to go into all of her story, but shout out to you, girl. You're amazing. You're so cool. But I want to have her on as soon as possible so that you guys can hear her stuff as well. Do you find it's more expensive in LA or New York City? They are 2 of the most expensive cities to live in the United States, in the world. In New York City, you've got to understand that you don't have a car, so those car expenses kind of go out the window. But because that car expense goes out the window doesn't mean that you don't have expenses elsewhere. So you're going to be probably riding the subway, maybe taking a couple of Ubers. I will say that you get more for your money for space in LA compared to what you would get in New York. That is a definite for me. So I will say that rent is cheaper in LA than it is in New York City from what I know and what I've seen. But money continues to add up in all aspects of what you do. So I really can't tell you which one is cheaper or which one's not. It depends on how you budget. It depends on how you finance your money and what you do with it. All these questions are kind of in the same alley. So Maya Elizabeth said, I'm graduating college soon and live on the East Coast. Is LA too expensive? Again, it just depends on what you're choosing to spend your money on. You're talking about, again, 2 of the most expensive cities in the world. So it's not really a matter of is it expensive or not. It's going to be expensive, more expensive than it would be if you lived anywhere else. But at the same time, it's worth it if you're going to be there for a reason. I'm speaking from an actor standpoint, and I feel like I have to keep saying that over and over and over again, because if I wasn't an actor, I would not just be frolicking around in LA or New York City if I didn't have a job, a purpose, a passion to be in one of those cities. I don't want to go too much into this because again, the other video talks about it, but mindset is such a key important thing when it comes to moving out and going to someplace else and financially sustaining sustaining yourself. If you constantly think that you're not going to be able to afford to live there, you won't. You just have to go in with the mindset of knowing what you're doing. Logistically, you can't just really go out there and be like, well, I mean, I guess money will kind of find its way to me. Great, having that mindset, but you still need a plan. If you don't have any kind of financial plan when moving to a big city like New York City or LA, you're going to drown, and I cannot stress that enough. So don't just mindlessly move out without saving. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and move into the moving portion of this Q&A. Olivia Jane on TikTok asks, best way to find a good roommate. If you guys don't know, I live alone in a studio apartment in Hollywood, but before making the decision to move and live alone, I was going through the whole roommate search, which is really stressful, honestly, if you don't start looking ahead of time. I remember a few months before moving, I just started going through so many Facebook groups, going through friends of actors pages on Instagrams, and going through the deep dark web to find a good roommate. And don't get me wrong, I found some good options, but timing just didn't line up. Some things just didn't line up financially for some people, and it was a lot. And I'm not even gonna lie, the roommate portion was honestly the most stressful part. You luck out if you get to move with someone that you do know at least a little bit from your hometown, or someone that you even are affiliated with. But when it comes to finding a good roommate, there are lots of Facebook groups that you can go on. There are a couple of websites, but I will say be careful on these websites. I don't think I have to preface that. You guys are smart, but at the same time, the internet is dangerous. People pose to be people that they aren't and all this stuff. So just be very careful. But I did find some good roommate options. It's just things didn't work out. Next question is another Olivia. She says, do you absolutely need a car to live in LA? And I'm going to swear up and down on this one. You need a car. I can go ahead and beat around the bush and tell you that you're not going to need one, even if you live in, you know, a central area where all of your stuff might be around. But if you're moving for acting, and I'm speaking on acting because I know that so many of you guys are actors, and I know that Olivia is an actor as well, so I just want to go ahead and, you know, say it for the acting thing. I mean, right now, again, in-person auditions aren't really as important. Things aren't really happening in person, but when it comes to even going to auditions, I had an in-person commercial audition within the first 2 months of moving to LA that was on the complete opposite side of town, and if I did not have a car, I would have been screwed. And even in the central location of Hollywood that I live in, if I did not have a car, I would be screwed. Things are just so spread out in LA, and it is not like New York City. You need a car. I mean, say you have 3 other roommates and you guys don't have a car, and you guys, you know, Uber everywhere together and split it, that's fine, but you never know. You're never going to be going to the same places 24/7 with your same 3 roommates. Even if you have to wait an extra year to get a car or find a way to finance a car, do not move there without a car. Even if you have 3 roommates that don't have a car, find a way to put your money together and potluck for one car that you guys can all share together and lease a car. Do something that requires you to have safe, reliable transportation. That is one of the most important parts of moving to LA, and if you do not have a car, you're going to make it so difficult on yourself. You're not going to be able to fully focus on your craft without a car. I'm ranting about a car, but it's so important. One of my friends lives in LA without a car. He rides the bus everywhere. He does everything. Yes, he makes it work and it's fine, but again, it's up to whatever you're comfortable with. But if you want like the honest opinion of what someone thinks about having a car, it's necessary. Chrissy says, tips for moving to LA from out of state. Number 1, obviously ship your car. I shipped my car from North Carolina to LA for $1,000 flat, and that was honestly pretty cheap. Pretty cheap actually, because a lot of people, especially depending on the time that you move, people ship it for like $1,500, $1,800 depending on how far you're going. Again, North Carolina to California, all the way across the country, gonna be more expensive. If you can drive. I know someone who's moving to LA in January. She's driving from Seattle, I think. But depending on where you're going from, just make sure that you are able to get your car there. Next tip, save up to about 3 months of rent or whatever you think that you feel that you need to be comfortable with. That makes sense. I'm just blabbing out words at this point. Save enough money so that you are able to feel financially comfortable and not having to scramble for about 3 months. More if you don't trust yourself. But at this point, if you're moving and making the decision to move to a new state by yourself or whatever you're doing, you're going to need to trust yourself a little bit. So definitely make sure that, you know, you feel secure with the amount of money that you have, at least just going there, and have some sort of job lined up. But don't move out there with 1 month of rent saved and no job and trying to figure out how you're gonna get a job. A lot of tips for moving to LA from out of state is just having things lined up, making sure your ducks are in a row so that you can mentally feel at ease. You're already so stressed with the actual idea of the move. You don't need to stress yourself out with all the other things that go along with it. So another tip is to reach out to a couple of people depending on, you know, what field you're in. Again, actor friends, reach out to some actor people, DM people. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. I've met so many of my new friends by reaching out, by by them reaching out via TikTok or Instagram. It's not weird. I mean, we live in a social media age. A lot of you guys are Gen Z millennials, so you guys know the whole deal. They don't have to be your best friends, but just knowing at least someone makes it feel way less lonely. Mia Hansen, she says, do you feel safe living, walking, etc. by yourself? I'm a super anxious person, so I don't know if I could live in a big city and do lots of stuff by myself and feel safe. This question, I honestly didn't think I was going to struggle with this that much. I don't know if it's a pandemic thing. I don't know if it's just an LA thing. As soon as I moved to LA and then my dad left, I just felt a lot of anxiety when going outside of my apartment. Like, my apartment feels safe. I feel safe in my building with all the people that I know in my building. But when it came to going outside or even going a couple neighborhoods down, I felt so nervous. Not that I live in a super dangerous area. It can be dangerous, but not that I live in a super dangerous area, but it is so scary in LA. I also did myself the favor of downloading the Citizen app, which can be good sometimes. It alerts you of all the things going around in your area, but I don't need to know that someone is getting stabbed at gunpoint. What? Stabbed at knife point like 2 blocks down the road. Like, I really don't need that, and it was affecting my mental health so much that like I never even wanted to go out to do things by myself. And that's coming from someone that, again, lived in New York City pre-COVID. I lived there for about 6 to 7 months, and even in that time span, I've always felt so comfortable and safe walking around in New York City. There's so many people walking around like 24/7. You know what streets to be on, you know what avenues to not be on. It's very obvious. But in LA, I think the scary aspect of things being so spread apart and everyone having cars, feeling like you're going to get kidnapped might feel scary. I would just say, you know when to be outside of your place and you know when to not be outside of your place. Catch me red-handed walking down my street by myself at even 10 p.m. at night. I just have no reason to do that by myself when I could walk with a friend. My boyfriend lives nearby. Like, I would never just walk by myself around on a street, even though there's lights, even though there's cars, but it just does not feel safe to me. I don't say this to scare you. I say this to prepare you, because I don't think people talk about the safety aspect of it at all. It sucks that we have to, you know, as women especially, we have to just be super cautious. But you wanted to know the truth, I wanted to let you know. I will say that I do feel safer now that I have friends that I go out with all the time. Once you get affiliated with your neighborhood and where everything is, it does not feel as scary. But I will say that having a new experience and then having your own car, making sure that you're taking care of your car, like, you just have to be smart. You just use common sense, carry pepper spray, do all that stuff. I really need to carry pepper spray. You will be fine. As much as it sounded like you won't be fine, you will be fine. And then I got another question that's kind of along the same topic, but how does it feel to live alone? I love living alone so much. I just love being able to have my own peace of mind. And I would be lying if I said that I never felt lonely, but I will say that as the months went on, as time progressed, as I met new friends, as I got into my new relationship and things like that, it feels more like a home. It does not feel like I'm alone. It feels like a sanctuary where I can come to and rejuvenate myself after the loud world of LA. I love living alone. Alrighty, I am interrupting this video to bring you guys today's sponsor of the video, which is Ana Luisa. You guys already know much about Ana Luisa already if you guys have been subscribed for a while, but they are the only jewelry company that I wear. Ana Luisa is a sustainable jewelry company. They really truly prioritize the quality of the pieces that are going onto your body. We love a sustainable queen company. So I wanted to show you guys the 5 pieces that I got this go around. The first piece that I have are these earrings. They're the Paris earrings. They look like little croissants. It's like a classic twist on your everyday hoops. They give you a little bit of texture. The next piece that I have is the last thing from the Michelle collection that I've wanted for so long, which is the Michelle signet ring. It's this kind of emerald statement bold piece ring that I love. Again, you guys know that my favorite YouTuber is Michelle Choi. I adore her. This ring, cute addition. The next piece that I got is this necklace. It's the heritage necklace. It comes in 2 pieces. It's very simple and dainty, and that's just something that I needed because I've been getting a lot of bold pieces, a lot of sets and whatnot. The next piece that I got is this Elijah regular bracelet. I realized that I literally have no bracelets. The first bracelet that I got was in the last Ana Luisa video, which is the Rio bracelet that I also adore so much. It's kind of that like flat metal type bracelet that I really like. So this one, I just wanted it to be a little bit thicker. I really like this and how it fits on my arm and wrist. And lastly, I also got the Hannah collage earrings. I am not currently wearing them right now because they will be on my Instagram. They're so cute. They look like little pieces of artwork on your ear. I didn't really have anything colorful from Ana Luisa. I always go with their classic gold things and whatever. There's definitely something for for you on their website for sure. They are having their biggest sale of the year. Right now they are currently having 10% off along with buy one get one 60% off of all of their last chance sale item stuff. Definitely bring in the new year with some new staple pieces that are going to make you feel so confident and just so ready to kick off 2022. But yes, thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for supporting me throughout 2021 and 2020. I love you guys and I look forward to working with you guys in the future again. All right, we are back. I got so many questions about acting, so let's go ahead and get right into that. The first question is from Delaney Bella, and she says, I am 19, an acting major, and hoping to move out to LA after graduation. Is it worth it? Honestly, it depends on what you want to do, and that might not help by saying that at all, but I think a lot is to be said about figuring out why you're in acting in the first place. I think so many people are very facaded by all the glitz, the glam of acting, which honestly the rewards can be super sick, super amazing, but it comes with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of behind the scenes that a lot of people do not show, do not talk about. You really have to sit down and question yourself and ask if this is something that you are willing to put all the time, blood, sweat, tears, and energy into, because you're talking about going into a career that has no guarantee of being this huge stardom success. And while it is possible for some, that is not everyone's reality. And if you guys don't know, most actors that are in the industry are not huge name actors like Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. I think that taking that into consideration and asking yourself if acting is something that you like or that you're just fascinated with versus something that you're willing to put an entire career into, that's what you have to ask yourself, if it's worth it or not, because I can't tell you that. That's not something that I'm ever going to be able to tell you. But if you are willing to definitely make that move, try it out. There's nothing wrong with trying it out, but I will say do not be discouraged. There are tons of people going in and doing this exact same thing and just trying to make it work just like everybody else, and that's the life for a lot of actors. But because we love it that much, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what you're doing, just as long as you're working on set every so often, once in a while, it makes it worth it. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope to see you out in LA doing your thing in the future if that's what you actually want. Another question from Bella as well. How did you get an agency in LA? If you guys don't know, I actually recently signed with a new agency about 2 months ago. How did I get my agent? If you guys don't know, I filmed a video on how to get an agent, and I also talked about my whole process on getting an agent and whatever, so I will link that here. Long story short, it takes networking, it takes really sending emails, it takes having your materials lined up perfectly so that people are even considering you. If you put yourself in an agent's perspective, you would want to ask yourself, why would I want to take on this person? And if your headshots aren't up to par, if your real footage is kind of okay, and if your materials and resume is kind of okay, and there's someone else that's a better option, it makes sense to sign the better option. It makes sense to take the chance on a better option. But that's why I'm saying you guys have to be prepared. It's not just about getting an agent, getting signed, getting a manager, because anyone can do those things. But even if you get an agent or manager, it does not guarantee you to get work. You are still competing against everyone in your agency, depending on what agency that you're at, which most likely you are competing against other people that look like you, other people that are getting submitted for the exact same auditions as you. So you have to be on your A game. Just keep working. If you are working and you are doing something towards acting, you are working. It's about just building up that consistency and building up that momentum so that you are getting work, that you are putting yourself out there. That's how you get an agent. It doesn't really just come with, hey, sign me, because so many people want to be signed. It's not about that. So, okay. Camera died. Got another question on how is the new agency treating me. I love them so much. I really think that I found the perfect agency for me. I don't say this to brag. I say this because I want you guys to know that when you find an agent and a team that is really focused on you and really supporting you, you know it, you feel it, you don't get lost in the pile, you don't feel like you're getting cast to the side, you really feel like you're being focused on. And for me, I know that at my specific agency, when I took a meeting with them a couple months ago, my #1 priority was being one of the only people on my roster that looks like me. They specifically told me, Jada, if and when we sign you, you will be the only person getting auditions for you. Like, no one else in our agency will be getting those auditions. And my previous agency, loved them to death, but I was also competing against 20 to 30 other girls that also looked like me. So if I got an audition, all the other 30 girls would be also getting the same audition. And not that there's anything bad with that, it's just that I know that I wasn't being focused on the way that I know that I could have been focused on with the amount of work that I'm putting in. And yes, that comes with literally sifting through all of the agencies and seeing who fits with who, but I just feel like I got really lucky lucky to be supported by such a team that is super focused on me in that aspect. At the beginning of my career, I need that hands-on focus, and that's exactly what my new agency gives me, along with my manager and my other commercial agency. I'm super excited to see where all of that goes. And yes, the next question, I know that I got so many questions relating to this specific thing about New York City or LA for acting. I'm also going to talk about New York City or LA for culture aspects later, because that's also questions that I got. You already know what I'm gonna say. It depends on what you're looking for. It depends on what you want. It depends on where you want to live. And I was in New York City before COVID because I was focusing on Broadway. I graduated from a performing arts high school in Charlotte, North Carolina as a musical theater major, and I had been doing theater since I was a child. That is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on Broadway. Now, fast forward COVID, Broadway isn't the same thing that it used to be. Not only that, it just wasn't my interest anymore. When I started doing extra work and film and TV work and things that involved the camera, I really enjoyed that. I had also been doing YouTube for so long, so I really knew that being in front of the camera was a possibility. Broadway to film and TV. So in my head, it made sense to finally move to LA because that's where film and TV is. That's also where my agencies are located. That's where all the acting stuff goes on. There's also film and TV in New York City. It just depends on what you want. So you have to research and see what you want, because I cannot tell you that. I will say that LA is a staple for film and TV, but right now with COVID still going on, pandemic still going on, it's not really necessary to be in New York City or LA. There's a car that's flying by, so I'm gonna wait. Back in North Carolina with the trucks and people that like to rev their engines. Tips on confidence. I don't know if this was an acting related thing, but I'm bringing it to this because I just felt like it fit here. I think a lot of it is faking it till you make it. You might hear that all the time, but it really is just acting like you got your ish together, and eventually you start to feel like you have your ish together. It's really a matter of trusting yourself, making sure that you love yourself. And I know that sounds stupid. People overtalk that stuff all day now and they don't really know what it means anymore. I think that self-love is proving to yourself that you can be there for yourself. That's something that's so different than, you know, doing a face mask or doing your nails. It's more about showing up for yourself and making sure that every single audition that you take, you're putting 100% of yourself into it the way that you know how to show up for it. That to me is confidence. You build your confidence by satisfying yourself, by making sure that you're making yourself proud. That just eventually comes with everything, you know? So it's not about like, oh, let me try and fake confidence. The confidence comes when you show up for yourself every day. Alrighty, and the last section that we've come to of this video is the culture section and the other section. This is a really good question that I wish I started off the video with, honestly, because this is what I wanted to start off the video with. Is it as bad as people say? Like, a lot of influencers say they don't like it, and New York is now becoming the city that is hyped up. What is your take on it? Your key word in your sentence was influencers, and it's not a bad thing. It's just I want you to be aware that that's where your version of New York City and LA is coming from, is through the lens of influencers. New York City is my sanctuary. I miss New York City like no other. It was my everything. And honestly, living in LA every day made me realize how much I miss New York City so much. I still constantly watch New York City vlogs so much more than LA because I miss it so much. And honestly, if I had the opportunity to move to New York City soon, I probably would. But that's just because I miss New York City for what it is. I will say that right now with TikTok culture and YouTube culture, New York City is the next influencer spot. It is not LA anymore. And I can say that with utmost confidence. LA doesn't have that shiny new appeal that New York City does have right now. And it's crazy because I'm like, I started that trend. I was in New York City in 2019 and I was hyping it up while everyone was still in LA. But right now, for my personal career, again, LA is for me. That makes sense for me. New York City has always been my favorite. I love the culture. I love being able to walk around. I love public transportation and being able to stop at a new stop and see different things and see people and interact with people. I will say I do hate LA for that aspect, but I try not to focus on it. There are so many cool people in LA, and for me to say that LA is this influencer hub that's being ruined by influencers is just doing a disservice to LA. LA still has so much culture. It has so much history and richness to it, just like New York City does, just like any old place in America does. But it's been overshadowed by all of this influencer BS that, you know, has people talking like, oh, LA sucks now. LA doesn't suck. It's the influencer lens of LA that sucks, because when I take myself out of that and don't focus on that, it becomes beautiful. That's what my view on New York City is / LA, but again, LA is for me right now, so that's where I'm staying. I have relocated. Another question about the influencer epidemic. I just like the way that she put this, but is the influencer epidemic in LA as bad as people say it is? I will say yes and no. Again, it's what you choose to focus on. If you choose to focus on the glitz and glam of the influencer lifestyle, you will notice more things that deal with the influencer lifestyle. I mean, I've been in so many situations where I see influencers or people in areas and I'm like, ugh, yes, it's as bad as people say, you know. But then there are other aspects where I'm just going out shopping, doing my own normal thing, and meeting people, and people are really cool and sick and they're amazing. Like, I just want to get to know everyone in LA, you know. If you're trying to hang around with those people, then yeah, like, that's what you're getting yourself into. But for me, that's not why I'm there. Again, I think people have their waves of trends. You know, New York City, there was about to be a time when New York City was going to come up again anyway. So if that's now because of all the influencer stuff, then yeah, but sooner or later people will get sick of New York City again and flock back to LA. Like, LA and New York City, neither of them will really ever die because they've always been the hub for entertainment, whether if that's film and TV, just entertainment in general, and then now influencing this whole new world of social media. So they will never die, so I don't really care. Is it difficult to find down to earth like-minded people? No, it's not. You just have to be willing to search for them. Even if you're taking acting classes or a pottery class or a dance class, like, meet someone that's next to you, talk to someone, open your mouth, because like, I think we've forgotten how to communicate in a world of social media and a world of a pandemic thrown on top of that. So we've just forgotten how to do that, and once you just put communication back into it, you meet a lot of cool people that you never thought that you'd meet, you know. Even just saying hi, you never know. You never know. You will find genuine people for sure. If you're only going to bars and clubs or parties where you don't even feel satisfied going to and you're meeting friends there, then yeah, that says a lot about what kind of people you're going to find depending on what mood you're in. If your idea of like-minded and down-to-earth people is in a club, then go. If it's like-minded and down-to-earth people at a book club, then go. 2 deep questions to end this off on. Biggest lesson I've learned. Biggest lesson that I've learned since moving to LA, I had to write some of it down. Number 1, car accident stuff. Like I mentioned, I got into a car accident a couple months ago, but the cops in LA do not come to minor accidents. Not that mine was super minor, but not that mine was major in any kind of way, but the cops don't come. And for me, I thought that I could trust the girl who was behind me that hit me, who was like 21. I should have taken a picture before moving. And I know that that's a lot to say when you're in a situation where you just got hit and there's so many emotions going on and you're in fight or flight. Literally, you're not thinking about taking a picture or figuring out that stuff. You're just trying to be safe and get to somewhere safe. So I was like, let's pull into the parking lot that's right across from there so that we can get each other's information and all that stuff. But because of that, I was left with no surveillance footage. I was left with no cops that ended up coming to the scene because they said that we could figure it out by ourselves. I was left with a girl who lied on my back. And I even let her into my car to charge her phone because her phone was dying. She even apologized. She was crying. It was ridiculous because they had lack of evidence. I had to end up fending for my own car, which sucks because she definitely hit me. I wanted to tell her off. I wanted to do so many things, but I think that as you grow up and you start to adult more, sometimes you just gotta swallow some hard shit. And honestly, that is what I've been dealing with even for the past couple months. It's been a really hard time, guys. And I guess this is me really opening up now. I don't know how long this video is. I've been talking for way too damn long, but it's been hard. It's been very hard. I feel very supported and loved by my family and my friends, but it has been hard. I mean, you guys would not know. You guys would not know. Sometimes life just hits you with stuff, and this is just another big lesson. I'm a big planner. I love planning. I love making sure that I know what's happening next week, the next month, what my life trajectory is gonna look like, but that's something that you just learn. That's a big life lesson that I've learned since moving. Is no matter the amount of planning that you try and plan, there's always going to be something that you are not ready for, that you're just going to have to clutch onto your support system like no other, because that's how you're gonna get through it. So if anything, I suggest focusing on you, focusing on the people that you are putting into your immediate circle, your family. Even if your family's not supportive and they're toxic or whatever, find family. You can pick and choose your family. So I say this all because I've went through a really tough time this past month, and I could not have gotten through with that without my support system. That got depressing really fast, but that's how life is sometimes, you know? I'm good. I'm okay for right now, at least. I'm just the type of person that I want to open up about everything on the internet, but that's just not something that I can do right now. So maybe in the future, but just know that I'm okay and that your guys' support has been keeping me going. I've always thought about, you know, especially even coming back with the podcast and coming back with the channel in 2022, I just want to be my best self for you guys, but that comes with taking care of myself so that I can be my best self, because it's been hard. And the last question is about mental health. How is my mental health? And honestly, questions like this, it makes me truly emotional. I can't even tell you guys. It makes me so emotional because this past year has been such a year of change that I don't know if I've dealt with properly. I've always considered myself to be a very stable-minded person in a sense that I can handle my own happiness. I'm able to control myself pretty well. I don't really go into quote-unquote depressive episodes, and I've never really struggled fully with mental health like I know some people do. So I'm grateful for that, but sometimes things happen in your life where you're going to be depressed, you're going to be anxious. And over the past 2 days, aka today and yesterday was the first day that I actually felt good in so long. I am moving along. That is what I can say. I can't say that I'm 100% good right now because I know that this is just a good moment. I'm feeling good, which is why I decided to do all my work today and yesterday and get things done and feel good for the new year. And also I think there's something to be said about a new year and just the idea of a reset button, because I've really needed that. It's just felt like this endless cloud that's been sitting on my head for so long. It's been a lot to deal with. So I'm not going to say that I'm my 100% because I don't know what I'm gonna feel like in 2 or 3 days, but for right now, I am doing good. And I am so grateful to be saying that I'm doing good. I took the time off that I needed from YouTube for about those 3 weeks to a month. I am back. I will be more back in January, February, March, but this is probably the last video until the new year. I was trying to film this video like 3 days ago and I couldn't. I physically couldn't. Today's Christmas. So you know, to all who celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Like, it's just felt really nice and really comforting. So yes, thank you guys so much for your endless support. Again, I forgot to thank you guys for monetizing this channel. This channel got monetized like 3 weeks ago, and that is from under a year of restarting this channel again. And of course, again, this year started off rocky already with just me having to restart the channel and recalibrate everything and figuring things out. So it's been a whirlwind of a year, to say the least. Was it better than 2020? I don't know. I think 2022 will be good. I'm not putting any pressure on the future. I just know that I'm going to make the active decision to be good and figure things out and give myself the time and grace to live my life. I'm really proud of myself this year for not putting too much pressure on myself for YouTube, which is nice because I finally got the break that I deserved. But now I'm ready to grind. I miss working. I miss putting my all into creating and doing things. So yeah, I'm going to be back on my hustle. I love you guys so much. Again, thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. All the links will be down below for you guys to check out. Happy New Year from me. I love you guys so much. Take care, and I will see you guys in 2022. Bye.